2014 Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Pride Month observance here in our nation's capital at the Department of the Interior. I also extend that welcome out on the landscape to all our Department of the Interior employees who are watching this program via our live stream. My name is John Shemrai. I am currently the Acting Chief of the Office of Diversity and Equal Opportunity at the U.S. Geological Survey. This morning I have the honor to serve as your Master of Ceremonies and Facilitator for our program. The USGS is the lead bureau coordinating today's event, but certainly we had a lot of help and other coordination through other offices, other bureaus of the department, the Office of Civil Rights, and also from the DOI Globe chapter as well. And for those of you that do not know, DOI Globe is the Department of the Interior's gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender employee organization and resource group. And just for ease of our discussions today, I will use the acronym LGBT to mean lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. It's a lot easier on the tongue to say it that way instead of extending it out. And I think we're all used to acronyms here in the federal government as well. So, okay, before we officially begin today's program, I need to take care of one housekeeping item. I remind our webcast viewers about earning your annual diversity credit for viewing and participating in today's program. So if you'd like to earn diversity training credit for today's program, you'll need to send an email to Barbara Rogers of my staff, and her email address is brogers, that's B-R-O-G-E-R-S, @usgs.gov. Also, if you pre-registered for today's event via DOI Learn, you'll still need to send Barbara an email. Once again, her email address is brogers @usgs.gov. Thanks for that. Okay, our theme for today's program is For Real, Positive Progress, Federal Progress. And I believe for myself that the progress certainly has been for real. When I think about next Thursday, June 26th, will mark 1 year that Section 3 of the Defense of Marriage Act was ruled unconstitutional. And as a result of that decision, the U.S. Office of Personnel Management is now able to extend benefits to legally married same-sex spouses of federal employees and their annuitants. That is both federal progress and positive progress. Another for real instance and milestone is the use of the phrase diversity and inclusion. I believe most of us have gotten too accustomed to recognizing the value of diversity, but we need to ensure that all our employees are included in all our policies, programs, and practices. And we also need to ensure that diversity and inclusion, the diversity and inclusion principles are integrated into our work life and our daily operations. That's really a goal of the department and of all the bureaus. Of course, we've also included gender identity in the department's non-discrimination policy. Again, really stressing the concept of diversity and inclusion. So this morning we'll have the opportunity to hear different views from a variety of speakers on what is for real and what progress looks like, particularly for the LGBT community, LGBT federal community. So to begin our program, I'd like to introduce and say a few words about our first speaker who will officially welcome you to the program, Ms. Mary F. Pletcher. Mary F. Pletcher is the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Human Capital and Diversity. In this capacity, Ms. Pletcher provides leadership and executive oversight for the Interior's human capital programs, including human resources, civil rights, employee and organizational development, and occupational safety and health. Prior to this role, Ms. Pletcher served as the Senior Advisor to the Assistant Secretary for Policy, Management, and Budget, supporting the Assistant Secretary in the implementation of management initiatives and transformation efforts. Ms. Pletcher joined the Department of the Interior in April 2006, where she served as the department's Capital Planning and Investment Control Program Manager until February of 2009. Shortly after that, Ms. Pletcher served as the Deputy Recovery Act Coordinator for Interior. In this role, Ms. Pletcher supported the Senior Advisor to the Secretary for Economic Recovery in the implementation and oversight of Interior's $2.9 billion Recovery Act program, which composed of over 3,400 projects across 8 bureaus and offices. From July of 2010 to November 2011, Ms. Fletcher served as the Acting Director and Deputy Director of the Interior Business Center, which provides a variety of administrative shared services to the Department of the Interior and other federal agencies. Ms. Fletcher received her Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Florida. She received her Juris Doctor with honors from the American University Washington College of Law. And Ms. Fletcher was also nominated and selected as a 2011 Service to America Medal finalist. So please help me welcome Mary F. Fletcher.
Good morning. All right, let's try that. That was a wimpy good morning. All right, good morning. Good morning. I didn't know that my bio was going to get read. It took me back a little bit, but I want to officially welcome you to the 2014 DOI Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month observance. As John indicated, I'll use the acronym LGBT going forward. As noted in the presidential proclamation, which I hope you all take a look at in the program, during this month we celebrate victories that have affirmed freedom and fairness, and we recommit ourselves to completing the work that remains. I'm thrilled that the theme of the program and the month this year is for real. There's been a lot of federal progress, but there's a lot of progress that remains to be done. I'd like to thank our special guests and panelists, Matthew Murphy from the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, Sharon Wong from the Office of Personnel Management, Sarah McBride from the Center for American Progress, Rachel Muir from the U.S. Geological Survey, Ike Kelly from Policy Management and Budget, and our Master of Ceremonies, John Shemrai.
Got it.
Excellent. The LGBT community is part of the landscape and diversity of our nation, as well as an integral part of the commitment to diversity and inclusion at DOI. Last week I was excited to be present at the inaugural panel discussion of the new theme study that will explore ways to interpret the stories and history of LGBT Americans for inclusion in the parks and programs of the National Park Service. The National Park Service is tasked with telling the stories of all Americans and connecting Americans to our cultural heritage. And the theme study is part of a broader heritage initiative to ensure that the Park Service reflects and tells a more complete story of the people and events responsible for building this nation. After all, the study is a priority for DOI because place really matters. If you think about the moments in your life and the moments in history, there's the connection to the place, and it binds us together. It's a lasting statement in its nature, as it has a way to interface and connect so many different perspectives. So as just one example, this month, we mark 45 years since the patrons and communities surrounding the Stonewall Inn in Greenwich stood up to defy unjust policies. And that's the very first place that's been recognized within the National Park Service. So it's very exciting to see this panel study underway and over the next couple of years as it unfolds. I think we'll see more landmarks included. There's four or five places that have been included at this point. Stonewall Inn, and then I believe 4 others. And they're all East Coast focused. And so over the next few years, and with the work of this really robust and impressive group of scholars, we'll be identifying more places. So today's program is an important opportunity for increasing awareness and understanding. You'll hear today about some of the future policies to be implemented within all federal government departments and agencies, and some that have already been in place and that are leading examples and best practices that were several years ahead of their time. It's worth noting that President Obama has appointed more than 300 openly LGBT professionals to serve in his administration. There are now more openly LGBT presidential appointees than all previous administrations combined. They include, and this is just one example, but one that has a connection to Interior, John Berry, who is the ambassador to Australia. He He was formerly the director of OPM, and he also used to be the Assistant Secretary of Policy Management and Budget at DOI. The president has also appointed more than a dozen openly gay federal judges. They include Elaine Kaplan, who's a judge at the U.S. Court of Federal Claims, and she's a former acting director and a general counsel of OPM. So thank you for attending today's program, whether you're here in the room or across the country. Let's continue to celebrate the great diversity of the American people, our DOI employees. And in the words of the president, let each of us speak for tolerance, justice, and dignity, because if hearts and minds continue to change over time, laws will too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate your welcome for us. All right, so first on the program, we're going to hear from Matthew B. Murphy. And Matthew is the founder and president of FedQ, which is a national employee resource group for LGBT employees and allies in the government. Matthew is also the director of the Office of Equal Opportunity at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC. There he oversees the agency's internal complaint processing program and affirmative employment programs. Prior to becoming a civil servant, Matthew worked as an attorney in the private sector, where he represented both employers and employees in employment discrimination cases. In both his personal and professional life, Matthew has acted as a vocal advocate for equality, working towards the goal of creating a workplace where individuals have the opportunity to be assessed on their merits. Mr. Murphy also serves on the board of directors of the Federal Employees with Disabilities Incorporated, and is a frequent speaker at conferences on topics such as LGBT cultural competency, the Rehabilitation Act, the ADA Amendments Act, and best practices for avoiding EEO complaints. So please help me welcome Mr. Matthew B. Murphy.
John, thank you very much for that introduction. Thank you to Ms. Fletcher for being here. Thank you to my distinguished panelists. This is a huge honor to be here, and I was somewhat shocked to be invited to be the keynote. So in connection with that, I also want to thank Amelie, who is a huge asset to our community and a huge advocate for LGBT rights. So I want to start today by just talking about LGBT rights in the context of human rights. LGBT rights are human rights. We are not a Western construct. We are not something unique to the United States. We've existed cross-culturally and trans-historically. We've used different terms to identify ourselves, but we do have one thing in common. There has been, again, throughout history, across cultures, objection to our very existence. And much of the objection to our existence is related to, as evidenced by political and judicial discourse, the fact that our sexual relationships call into question the natural order of male dominance. And so many of us who have looked at this and studied this for many, many, many years have realized that discrimination against LGBTs is really a form of sex discrimination. The courts have slowly caught on to that and continue to catch on to that. So today, we're in a position where we know and we understand, and the courts understand, that gender identity discrimination is in fact sex discrimination under Title VII. We're working towards expanding that view to encompass discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. And for those of you who work in EEO offices or work for the federal government, you should be aware of the fact that, per the EEOC's guidance, if you contact your EEO office and allege discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, you should be given the right to file under 29 CFR 1614 under Title VII, because your claims could ultimately be construed as sex discrimination under Title VII. So that's